We're ready to start number 10 on page 12 of your 8.7b notes. Notice this is the first one that actually asks us to round, and it wants tenths. We'll circle that to remind us. So we look at this and we go, here's an exponential. How do I solve exponentials again? Oh yeah, I take the log of both sides if I can't make the bases the same. And 9 you can break down into 3 squared, but 14 can't be broke down to any base. So I can't make the bases the same, so I take the log of both sides. So I add the word log in front of each one. And remember, you can pick natural log or log. I just usually pick natural log when there's an E in it. If there's not an E, I do log. I guess that's just out of habit. Natural log or E, you definitely want to use natural log. When there's no E, you have a choice. So log of 14. So I just added the word log in front of each one, and that's why I haven't upset the balance of the equation, because I did the same thing to both sides. So this is a step that students have to think about. Immediately following taking the log of both sides, you use the power rule. And you want to know how I remember it? Because I always teach myself tricks. I say, what trick could I remember to help guide me that that's always the next step? Well, this is what I say to myself. I'm solving for x. I can't solve for x when it's up in the air. I need to bring it down. So how do I bring it down? By doing the power rule that we learned in 6.5. So this turns into x times the log of 9. Oh, Kimberly. Equals the log of 14. So now you have to say to yourself, solve means get x alone. Get x alone, I do the opposite. So what's the opposite of multiplying by log of 9? Dividing by log of 9. So if the problem had just said solve with no rounding, this is what you would type in to your computer or write on your paper pencil test. But this one actually says round, so I take my x, I put my squigglies in, and that gives me permission to go to my calculator. So we have log, and remember how I said make sure you close your logs at the end of each one. So it's log of 14 close divided by log of 9 close, and nearest tenth is 1 decimal. So 1 point and 2 followed by 0 says keep it 2. So it's approximately 1.2. And I always have students go, can you check ones like that when you round? Yeah, but you have to keep in mind that because you rounded, when you put x in, you won't get exactly 14, but you should get something pretty close to 14. So watch, this is how I would check it. I'd go 9, caret, and put the answer in that's rounded. So remember, it won't come out exactly 14, but it better be pretty darn close. 9, 6, that would round to 14, right? So that tells me I'm probably on the right track because it's almost 14. So that's how you check them if they've been rounded. You just have to assume that this number has to be really close to that, and it is. Okay, one more. So this would be a good time to shut off your video and practice one, because I think I have 3 exponentials on your test and 4 log equations on your test. So you want to make sure, actually 3 exponentials plus a word problem that has exponents. So I have 4 exponentials and 4 logarithms on your test. So this is a huge part of your test. 8 problems out of probably 25 come from just this one section, 8.7 A and B. So good time to turn off your video and try this one on your own, and then join me when you're done. Okay, so the rule is get your exponential isolated, at least one of them, and they're both isolated on their own side. So step 2 is take the log of both sides, because there's no way to make 4 and 5 the same. So I can't break it down. 4 I can break down into 2 squared, but 5 I can't. So I put the word log in front of that one, and I put the word log in front of this one. And I will tell you, this is what most of your problems in 150 look like. You're going to see this one's way longer than any of the ones we've done. And this is what your typical problem in 150 looks like, just like this. So we said, remember how I said how I convince myself what the next step is? I go, okay, solve means get x alone. But how can I get x alone when it's up in the air? Oh, that's right. The next step is exponent rule. So this goes down in front, but look at this one has an exponent too, so this one goes down in front. So this is a single term, so I can just write x times log of 4. But this is two terms, so it needs to be in parentheses when you bring it down. X minus 5 times the log of 5. This one's so confusing for students, but like I said, you see it all over the place in the next class, so you definitely want to make sure you practice on these, because then by the time you see it the second time, you're like, oh yeah, I remember those, or I just need a little refresher and then I'll remember it. So when you have these parentheses, you want to distribute both of these to the log. So this turns into x log of 4 equals x times log of 5, which would be x log of 5 minus 5 log of 5. Okay, everybody good so far? So all we did was distribute, whether you want to put your arrows that way or put them this way, it doesn't matter. So x log of 5 minus 5 log of 5. Okay, now this is where you have to pay attention, and this was something we did in chapter 5. If you have more than one of the variable you're solving for, both have to be over. Remember how a lot of you, we were solving for p, I think, and you left a p over here and you had a p over there. Can't be. If you're solving for x, all the x's have to be on the same side. So that should be step number 1. Move that x over to the left. So minus x log 5 minus x log 5. So my new problem is, I think I'm going to put it over here, x log 4 minus x log 5. I know you cannot combine those, they're not like terms, equals negative 5 log of 5. Okay, so let me make sure everybody understands where it all came from. So you brought this log over there because you needed the two x's on the same side, preferably the left. So x log of 4 minus x log of 5 equals, that cancels out, negative 5 log 5. Then here's another thing from chapter 5. You learned if there's two variables that you are solving for, and I see my variable occurs twice, you have to pull it out as a GCF. And it was on your chapter 5 test. It was on your chapter 5 quiz. It was something you've seen quite often. So you pull out the x as a GCF. If you take the x out of that term, it's going to be log of 4. If you take the x out of that term, it's going to be log of 5. And you probably don't know it yet, but you're only one step away from being done. So I need to get x alone. Isn't this an imaginary time sign? So my last step, divide by all that junk. Log of 4 minus log of 5, log of 4 minus log of 5. And I know this one doesn't ask you to round, but a lot of students have a hard time with this one on the calculator. So first let's write the exact answer and box it, and then I want to show you how to do it on the calculator. So it's negative 5 log of 5 over, and this one wants an exact answer because see how it doesn't say rounding, so don't pick up that calculator as tempting as it might be. Log 4 minus log 5. So that's the answer they're looking for because they asked just to solve. But let's practice on how we would type that in the calculator just in case you had one on a test or homework that asked you to round. So notice how there is 2 factors in the numerator. So that means they need to be in parentheses, and there's 2 terms in the denominator, so they need to be in parentheses. So a lot of students are like, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, you have to remember you're closing 5's parenthesis, and then you're closing the big parenthesis. Same thing here, you're closing 5's parenthesis, then you're closing the big parenthesis. So you actually have to remember 2 parentheses at the end. So a lot of students mess up on typing this in just because of that one thing. So because there's 2 factors in the numerator, I need to put parentheses around them. So I do parentheses, negative 5 times log of 5. Okay, now this is the tricky part. Close your log, close your numerator. So there's 2 parentheses right there. Then you hit division, and then you open up the denominator, log of 4, close your log. And one of the questions I have a lot of students go, I never know when to use parentheses. You can use them every time you divide if you want. So if you don't know when to and when not to, use them all the time because it will always work as long as you put the whole numerator in one parenthesis, the whole denominator in the other. Okay, so we have our parenthesis, we have our log of 4 minus log of 5. Now here's the tricky part again. Close your log, then close your parenthesis for the denominator. So if this did ask you to round, let's say it says round to the 10th again, it would be approximately 36.0 followed by 6 is 1. So I hope while you're doing these videos, you have your calculator beside you and are practicing. So that's the best way to get good at it is just by practicing. Okay, let's do this last one and see if we can beat the video. Who knows? In a certain city, it was found that the average walking speed, W, so there's important information, average walking speed, W, in feet per second, of a person living in a city of population, ooh, there's important stuff. Population is P, and we have to add the word thousands to it or 3 zeros when we get the answer. Find the walking speed of people in a city with a population of 147,791. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. So, looking for the population P in thousands. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. So this is where students get a little bit tricked. This is in thousands. That means I have to divide this number by 1,000. So this would be 147.791 because this says in thousands